Margaret Atwood and I are stranded in a snowed-in mountain cabin for days. Plenty of time to talk. The world-famous author and I, the humble retired teacher, get along famously. I'm eager to earn her respect. Good boy, she thinks. She accepts me and never tries to dominate me with her extensive knowledge and sharp intellect. Sometimes we disagree, but it's okay. We're comfortable with that. We become friends. And then I tell her my story. My tale is not speculative fiction. It is the real story of my persecution by the oppressive machinery of the Kada regime in socialist Hungary. I dive deep into my memory and bring to the surface the kind of details that Margaret used to make the Handmaid's Tale so credible and visceral. I describe my thoughts and feelings to her like an Offred. Margaret glows. Yes, I got it right. My new friend's lived experience validates my fiction. Then I ask, do you remember Jaws? Spielberg's mechanical shark kept malfunctioning, so they ended up shooting a lot of the scenes with an invisible monster, just the yellow barrels, and of course the music. Not seeing the shark, but knowing that it's there, creates tension and fear more effectively. You used this trick, Margaret. You used it skillfully. For example, the persecution of the condemned guy, the brutal lynching. In your text, just a few hints are enough. I tell her that as I read The Handmaid's Tale, characters and scenes popped up in my head from books and films that deal with the horrible past or the horrible future. Amon Goeth from Schindler's List, Nurse Ratched, the sunglasses Gerd from Cool Hand Luke, Orwell, and Bradbury, of course, Swing Kids, Mephisto, The Serpent's Egg, The Lottery, and on and on and on. It's hard to say something new. I look at her. Margaret, you have pulled it off. You have not recycled anybody. Your work is original. The epilogue, with an academic symposium that digs into early Gileadian history, is clever. She and I have a debate on what's dark and what's not, the nature of darkness and the human spirit. Do you think The Handmaid's Tale is dark? I ask. Just your book, never mind the TV series. She answers with a smirk. Depends. I tell her that my glass is half full. You see, I have every reason to be forever wounded and blame my failures on what the socialist regime in Hungary did to me. Are there scar tissues on me? Sure, but I made a choice to leave my baggage of the past behind and rebuild with a positive outlook. Sunny side up. I understand your point, says Margaret. I don't think that just because you like a good happy ending, you are childish or naive. We agree that there is enough hope in The Handmaid's Tale to get a guy like me to read it in one sitting. In Robert Mayer's novel, The Virility Factor, a deadly epidemic selectively kills sexually mature men, and women take over government and business. As the male population dies out, the remaining men face castration to escape the disease. Pretty bad, huh? The central character, Dr. Martinelli, is one of the protected real men, and his job is to find a vaccine. But bad radical feminists who run the show in Washington turn things into a proper Orwellian nightmare. They make plans to eliminate men altogether. But fortunately, there are good women whose resistance movement defeats evil. This plot sounds, well, simple. But the real story, Dr. Martinelli and the women, is way more interesting. My father was a charmer. He believed that it was his duty to make women feel comfortable and appreciated. He found cute ways to compliment them and treated them with the utmost respect. Love and affection was in his blood. But old school European culture also gave him good role models. He was passionate and even he looked a bit Mediterranean. Women loved him. But they also knew that he was a responsible family man as opposed to an opportunistic skirt chaser. I followed in my father's footsteps. I escaped from Hungary and brought to Canada my ideals about how to treat women. In 1990, I started to teach in a suburban school north of Toronto, and I fell on my face. Half of the women in that school were either hostile to me or they viewed me with suspicion. Everything about me offended the feminists, and they were quick to judge and label a foreigner who was not up to date on their social and cultural expectations. I was constantly corrected and re-educated. My wings were clipped. I didn't know that a state of war existed between the sexes. The feminists were ideologically well prepared and determined. They had the momentum. As a sexist, male chauvinist, toxically masculine, patronizing, phallocrat, etc., I had no chance to save my dignity. I had to zip it and adapt in a hurry. And the other half of the women, well, they were happy to find a friend. So I lavished my affection on them. Quietly, and when there were no jealous bystanders around. I don't want to get into this deeper now, just a casual observation. Out of the two groups of women, the ones who had no problems with me generally looked a bit happier. I'm a Dr. Martinelli. My identification with the doctor tells me that I'm not alone, and I don't have to be ashamed of the way my male brain works. My thoughts, my impulses, and my reactions line up with his. I do notice and enjoy femininity, but I don't get excited about objects. I do not objectify women. And by the way, I don't want anybody to objectify me. Nevertheless, Dr. Martinelli and I were accused of the same crime. The way you looked at me was sexist. I wasn't leering at anybody. Perhaps they just sensed that I wasn't castrated, figuratively speaking, and it irritated them. They wanted to emasculate me in earnest. To this day, I don't understand the concept of treating a coworker as a sexless creature. There's no such thing. If this makes me sexist, then everybody is sexist. The ones who vehemently say that they are not are also hypocrites. The Virility Factor's ending is absolutely me, precisely my line of thinking. When the tyranny of the misandrist regime is over, a moderate feminist government sets about to reconstruct America. The few surviving men are collectivized by necessity, and Dr. Martinelli is shared by 4 women. Well, theoretically, it's a guy's dream. But when it is your patriotic duty to be a stud, it's a bit of a compromise. As Dr. Martinelli puts it, I would go on bearing as best as I could my new status as a sex object. And when he reflects on his lower status and his losses in life, he concludes, "But there is still one thing I got that can't be taken away from me. You, Burrage. You and the secret couple we form in the midst of official collectivization." Yes, he is going to dutifully inseminate the others, but Burrage stands out as a keeper and a soulmate. I was crossing my fingers. Please choose Burrage. Please let it be Burrage. She's the good one. And I was happy for them for choosing each other. The Handmaid's Tale is a dystopia that ends with a cliffhanger. The Virility Factor is technically a dystopia that turns into a utopia of sorts. When an incurable romantic and idealist, a man of passion, somebody like me, reads these 2 books, the verdict is going to be obvious. I'm not going to read the Testaments, and I'm not going to gobble up the episodes of the TV series. That kind of diet is not healthy. Do I want to overdose on the sunnier boy gets girl type happy material? No. Margaret and I agree that it's not an either or. It is best to read both books.